Hello there, everybody. Welcome to the DA Wrestling Podcast solo this time around. AEW Dynamite review, the first one we've done in a while, actually. But the reason why we stopped doing it is because there wasn't a lot of things going on. But now we're doing Dynamite again. It's the first one we're doing back again, and it's a pretty good episode actually. It's a really good. It's gotten a lot better over time, at least in my opinion, has. Especially now with the turn of MJF, it's got a lot more exciting. MJF tonight opened the show. I guess MJF versus Roosh. Now I'm a big fan of Roosh. I think it's I enjoy what he does. I enjoy his work. Uh, and quite frankly, it was a really great match. MJF really sold a lot for Roosh in this episode here. He took a lot of bumps. He really sold a lot for Roosh. And at times, you really thought Roosh was going to win. And quite frankly, I thought he was going to win, and he probably should have won. But it's MJF. MJF is the bigger star, but he really elevates Roosh, in my opinion, on this one, too. So MJF ended up winning after a very dominant match by Roosh. We came back and won. He ended up beating Roosh with something you don't see all the time anymore, and that is a classic brainbuster. I don't see a lot of those being used as a finisher, at least not that much anymore, in my opinion. I don't see a lot of it at all. After that, they announced a huge match for Forbidden Door coming up on June 30th. Orange Cassidy versus Zack Sabre Jr. Uh, that's going to be a really good match. Like last year, I think it was Zack Sabre Jr. Who was it? He was in a three-way against Daniel Garcia. With Daniel Garcia and, geez, I can't remember his name. His name is skipping my mind right now. Oh, Shibata in Toronto. And it was a hell of a good match. A lot of fun. Looking forward to this one, though. Orange Cassidy versus Zack Sabre Jr. should quite possibly steal the show. If it ain't going to be for the one match that comes up later on, we're going to talk about that in a bit too. Huge promo was cut though in the back though after all this was said and done between Mark Briscoe, Orange Cassidy, Kyle O'Reilly, and Dante Martin. Look, Mark Briscoe is just a bunch of laughs. He is just having so much fun out there, and you could tell he's really embracing everything, even after the loss of his brother over a year ago. So he's doing well. But cut back to the ring after that, and after the ring, it was Ospreay greeted by Swerve, and this match we talked about. I said Zack Sabre Jr. versus Orange Cassidy could very well steal the show. This probably will be the one that steals the show. It's the way it's going is that Swerve thinks he's not going to beat him. Ospreay thinks he's going to beat him. Swerve is pushing the buttons here of Ospreay. He really is. He's really pushing him. He named off a lot of people that Ospreay beat last year, and one person he hasn't beaten was Swerve, and he never faced Swerve really until now in AEW, if I'm correct. Swerve almost made it personal. In reality, though, he's trying to make it personal. He's already mentioning Ospreay's child. That's something you just don't do. And quite frankly, Ospreay held his own on it too, but it almost came to blows. And it's going to be a really good match. I'm surprised they're doing it now, Forbidden Door, but I'm going to be surprised later on too if they end up doing it, say, at all in Wembley. It's a possibility that's going to happen. We don't know yet. It's still a little bit away, but it's a possibility this match gets revisited at Wembley if Swerve is still the champion, or possibly a rematch. I don't see that rematch happening, though. I see it happening. I don't see Swerve losing the title at Forbidden Door, but it's possible we see this again at Forbidden Door. It's going to be very interesting to see what's going to happen for that. It's just exciting. After that, we had an 8-man tag with, therefore mentioned, the Mark Briscoe, Orange Cassidy, Kyle O'Reilly, and Dante Martin versus, how do I put this? How do I want to put this? Against four really guys who probably should have won the match. One was Zack Sabre Jr. One was Roderick Strong. The other one was what's it called? What's his name? What's his name, folks? What's his name? Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher. Now, conspiracy by his absence was Don Callis. Now, Don Callis would seem to be a little upset, though, because I'll go back to this the Osprey versus Swerve for a second. So, Osprey mentioned that he didn't need Don Callis to beat Swerve. Supposedly pissed off Callis a little bit because he ended up going to the back, and we'll cut to that later on. But during this four-way, this is just a crazy 8-man tag. A lot of crazy bumps going on there. Mark Briscoe jumping off a chair to everybody. Dante Martin showing why he's one of the best aerial guys in wrestling. Orange Cassidy ended up picking up the win. Zack Sabre was not very happy about that. Zack Sabre Jr. obviously wants to prove a point to Orange Cassidy at Forbidden Door. But where was Don Callis, as I said earlier? He was in the back, by the looks of it, trying to recruit Roosh to his family. Now, with the possibly departing Will Ospreay down the line there, it's a good possibility Roosh is that replacement. And it's a pretty good replacement, if you ask me. That's a hell of a good replacement. Obviously, Will Ospreay is hard to replace, but Roosh is an extremely good reason to person to replace him with. That's just a fact, folks. And that's one thing that with the Don Callis family is he's getting guys who aren't used that often and trying to make them better. He's almost like the AEW's version of Paul Heyman, but not as good. But we'll find out anyway. After that, we get the Young Bucks versus the Acclaimed. The Young Bucks came out, as they usually do. When the Acclaimed came out, Cash started doing a rap. And his mic gets cut off by Okada in the back. And he starts calling him a bitch and everything like that. Unfortunately, for the Young Bucks, this did not turn out very well. There was an excellent match. Don't get me wrong, it was a really good match. But the Acclaim won, which means the Acclaim now have a chance to go for the titles against the Young Bucks. My guess is it's going to happen sometime on Dynamite, or if they can, maybe push it to All In at Wembley. I don't know, but we're going to find out, though. Good possibility, but it looks really good for these guys here. The Acclaimed have been kind of titleless for quite a while now. They lost the trios titles a while back too to the Guns. Well, I should say Bullet Club Gold. But we'll see what happens with them. It's gonna be interesting to see how these guys go after the Bucks and if they're gonna win the titles back. I don't see it happening right now. I think the Bucks right now are gonna hold these titles for quite a while, especially with the new All Elite. So it'd be interesting to see what goes on with that. After that, we get to a contract signing. Contract signing between Minas Chikara and Tony Storm. Basically looked over by Mariah May. It was a really interesting contract signing. It was one of those contract signings where most time it turns hellish. Now, it turned hellish, but not how you think it turned hellish. Minas Chikara had a lot of respect for Tony Storm. Tony Storm has a lot of respect for Minas Chikara. But they also love Mariah May. What was interesting after this, though, is that after they both signed the contracts, Mariah May, sorry, Mina Shakar asked Mariah May if maybe she should choose sides, which that didn't go over very well with Tony Storm. But before Tony Storm could really respond, though, Saraya comes out with Harley Cameron and says, "This is enough. We don't need this anymore." And what happens is, out of nowhere, returning Anna Jay shows up and they start attacking everybody. They attack everybody on that floor. What was even funnier at the end, though, they set up a table in the corner. They want to put Tony Storm through it. Tony Storm ends up retaliating, getting Saraya down by the table, and you think that would be enough, but no, it's not. Unfortunately, Saraya moved out of the way, and Tony Storm went butt first into the bloody table, just knocking her out like that. Well, the interesting part was at the end of this, though, was that Mariah May was at the top of the stage with Mina Shirakawa, being very close to her. Now, they have a pass back at Stardom, but it's interesting to see where this is going to go. It almost seems like somebody's working somebody. I personally think Mariah May is working Tony Storm to get to that title, and she's going to use Mina to wound Tony Storm in some way for Mariah May to take that title. It just seems almost too obvious that's going to happen, but we're going to find out later on in the line. So the Owen Hart Tournament started. It's the third annual one, if I believe. Uh, Start off with the women's one tonight was Chris Statlander versus Nyla Rose. Nyla Rose I have not seen in a long time, and it's good to see her. It was really great to see Nyla Rose. She looks good. Uh, Excellent match between the two. Nyla Rose really showed why she's one of the more dominant women in AEW. And Statlander's heel turn is looking. I'm kind of on the fence about it. I'm glad the heel turn was there, but I'm not very concerned as to where this is going to go with Statlander. Uh, so Statlander ends up winning the match, which is fine. I'm not concerned with that, but it's nice that Nyla Rose was there, and I think Nyla Rose maybe needs a little bit more opportunity again, like there was at the beginning of AEW. She's a cornerstone of really that organization as far as the women's division goes, and she really should have been maybe put to the next round at least, by not face somebody standing down there that's going to lose. But after the match, they announced that Statlander will be facing the winner of Serena Deeb and Willow Nightingale. Willow came out on stage and said once she's done beating Serena Deeb, she can get her revenge on Statlander. So that's probably going to be the next match in that card, and I don't see Willow Nightingale winning that match. I see Statlander winning that by some means, with Stokely Hathaway there. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that match goes and how it is going to be treated. I don't think by any means that Statlander should lose that match. I think she needs to win that match. I don't think Willow has to win that match at all. It just, to me, it just makes no sense for that. It just defeats the purpose of a heel turn. Completely defeats the absolute purpose of it. There's no reason for that to even happen. But we're going to find out because that's probably going to happen maybe 2 weeks from now. So we just see what happens. Uh, Moving on to the men's, though, the Owen Hart Tournament. This is the main event of the card. Pac versus Claudio Castagnoli. Now, these guys had a banger, just a banger of a match. Uh, Pac is usually his usual form. Claudio usual form. If you want to see a good match, a good wrestling match that's out there, it's just going to show you what wrestling is and what it should be at times. Those two guys can go. Pac beat Claudio though, which is good for Pac. I don't think Claudio really needs it. Claudio's at that point now too, where he doesn't really need to win all these things. He's pretty much done everything there is to do in wrestling. He's a multi-time WWE champion. He's a multi-time champion in AEW as well as Ring of Honor now too. So it's interesting to see where they're going to go with this. Now I'm not sure who Pac's going to face next. I didn't mention that, but I wouldn't be surprised if Pac possibly wins this tournament. It's a good possibility. I'm all for Pac winning this tournament. I think Pac winning it would make the best course of action, and it would really elevate him back up because I think Pac. I personally think Pac should have a singles AEW title run. I like when he was in WWE. He was king of the cruiserweights as Neville. He really piqued my interest. I didn't like him as the Neville, that whole flyer stuff. It wasn't until he started embracing more of the Pac side of his character, the Pac character, but using it as Neville, that it got a lot better. And quite frankly, I'm looking forward to see what goes on next with the Owen Hart tournament and who Pac faces next and how that goes for Pac. All in all, it was a really good AEW Dynamite. A lot of wrestling. Good for story. Really pushing Forbidden Door come this weekend. June 30th. Especially with the addition of Orange Cassidy versus Zack Sabre Jr. That is going to be a heck of a match. Hell of a match. Of course, you obviously have Ospreay versus Swerve in the main event. That is going to be, that's quite possibly, could be, we always talk here on DA Wrestling about match of the year or possibly early contender match of the year or whatever it is. It's Will Ospreay, it's Swerve Strickland, both at the top of their game right now in the world of wrestling. There is no way that this match is probably not match of the year. If it's not this one, if they decide to do it again at AEW All In, then you know what? That might be it. But this is going to be a hell of a good match. And quite frankly, there's no way. I just said I don't see Osprey winning this match yet, but it's a good possibility he might. I feel he has to. I mean, are they willing to put 2 titles on Osprey and just put Swerve to the curb at this point? No, I don't think so at all. I don't think that's going to happen in the slightest. Quite frankly, I think Swerve is going to win this match, but how he wins it is going to be questioned. But Osprey made a good point though too in that whole thing. Osprey it could hit him from anywhere with any 3 moves. Could be Stormbreaker, could be the Hidden Blade, could be the Tiger Driver, could be anything. Let's just see what happens. But anyway, folks, that was your AEW Dynamite review. It's quick, fast. This is what it is, folks. Next week, we'll see what happens next. Can't wait to see what goes on next week on AEW Dynamite. Thank God it was the first week without also having the Chris Jericho injury. Thank God for that. I mean, I like Chris Jericho, but I think he needs to go away for a bit. And the whole learning tree thing is just enough. All right. So that was it. Anyway, folks, I hope you enjoy yourself. Click the comments down below. Like, share, subscribe down below. Watch the next video that's coming up too. Have yourself a good one. Later.